Hey, my name is Mark Perlman, and thanks for previewing one of my talks. I've been heard in up to 19 states across the nation on my radio show. I've authored The Positive Money Mindset, and I've appeared in the major media outlets across the country for some of my work in motivation and limiting beliefs. Please visit Moitve8u.com for more information about me. The following are snippets of my How to Achieve Super Success After Graduation talk, which I gave to a group of graduating college seniors.
My name is Dr. Kevin Elko. Anyone know that name? No. He's a friend of mine. He's a motivational speaker. And he talks to NFL teams. That's what he does. So last year when the Green Bay Packers are playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, Mike McCarthy, the coach of the Packers, asks my friend Elko to come in and talk to the Steelers and give a motivational speech. Now, I didn't know this at the time. I found out a couple weeks later. So I call him up. I said, Doc, what did you say? I heard you gave the speech to the Packers. What did you say to these guys? He goes, it's no different than what you would tell people. So I said, what'd you say? Here's the speech. He looks at Aaron Rodgers. Everyone know who that is? All-pro quarterback. And he looks at him and he goes, you got to know who you are. He looks at Clay Matthews, all-pro defensive linebacker. He goes, you got to know who you are. See, I love that. See, it doesn't matter whether it's professional sports, music, acting, professor, economics, business. If you don't know who you are, you're going to struggle. So, I get an email one day from this guy, Danny Kofke. Finds my personal email somehow. Dear Mr. Perlman, I'm a special education teacher here in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm a big fan of your show, and I'd like to be a guest. We have a section on there where if you want to be a guest. His claim to fame is he's a special needs teacher. He makes $40,000 a year. He supports his wife and 2 kids and has no debt. That's uncommon, by the way, for people who are not. So I replied back to him. I said, we appreciate hearing from you. The truth of the matter was, we wanted bigger name guests. We have big publishing houses that are sending us top name authors all the time. We want a big name. We don't want Danny Kofke, okay? So I tell him, in a nice way, hey, listen, thanks for getting in touch with us, but no thanks. We'll call you if we need you. Month later, I get a phone call at my office. I'm a tough guy to reach, let me tell you. Early morning, late at night, if you want to get me. He gets me late at night. He says, I got your email. I want to be a guest on your show. What do I got to do? Persistence. I said, I'll tell you what. I said, we have show producers and booking agents handle that. I'll put you in touch with them. If they want to do it, we'll talk. Week goes by, 2 weeks goes by. One of the producers says to me, he goes, who the hell is Danny Kofke? Why? Why do I keep hearing that name? He goes, this guy's unrelentless. I am getting emails and phone calls all the time from this guy. The guy is dying to be on the show. Finally, I'm like, are you serious? I'm like, if this guy is that committed, there it is again, and we had an opening, I'm like, have him on the show. So we had him. Nice guy. He had a book out too. So how to make it out of teacher's salary, something like that. So I think that's the end of it, right? Anyone here with the Today Show? People know that show? It's one of the biggest shows ever. I'm getting ready to go to work one day, sitting next to Matt Lauer talking about his new book, Danny Kofke. Regular guy, commitment, persistence. He's the biggest show in the world. Someone tells you you can't do anything, you don't listen to them. You know, and you better convince yourself like that. But I'm going to share with you the stuff you guys are going to hear when you get out of here. And maybe you've already heard it now. Throw your hand up if you hear one of these things. People are going to tell you, well, maybe you're not smart enough. Anyone ever hear that? Maybe from someone? Maybe your grades weren't good enough. I heard that, right? Okay? It's too expensive. Your dream is too big. Too much competition. He's shaking his head. He knows what I'm talking about. Who's heard something like that? Competition is too hard. You're not going to do it. You guys are in the right place. You guys are going to be jacked when you get out of here because I'm going to show you stories of people just like me and you that heard that and threw that stuff right out the window. So anyway, he calls me up last year. He says, hey, Mark, I hear you on the radio. I've seen you in the news and different kinds of things. He says, I'm going to be holding this workshop down in the Carolinas. He's got houses all over the world. He goes, I'm going to be holding this workshop in the Carolinas. I know you do a lot with money motivation. I'd love for you to come and talk to these guys. I'm going to have this workshop. I'm going to limit it to 50 people. I'd love it if you could be my guest. I said, for you, absolutely, man. You tell me when to be there, I'll be there. So I'm looking in like Barron's and different magazines and stuff like that, and I comp on his ad, which you can't really see here, unfortunately, because of the way this is set up, but you can kind of see it. This is what I'd like to show you. $4,000 for the people that can't read that. It's a day-and-a-half seminar. He limited, and I use that word specifically, to 50 people. Who's good in math? You. What's 50 times 4,000? Say it again. 200,000. How many days worth of work? Day and a half. Go be the best at something. I don't care whether it's cutting hair. I don't care what it is. Go be the best at something. Right? Super senior, you got it? Go be the best at something. Okay? Great person, great human being, wildly successful. So one day we talked, I said, how did you get your job? How'd you get started in the business? Here's his story. According to him, he had terrible grades. I said, you don't know it. You don't know what terrible grades are, man, until you see mine. He goes, I didn't have good grades. And he goes, and I didn't do anything when I was in college. My resume would have been a blank piece of paper. I can't hand out a resume. He's like, it would have been the biggest lie in the world. So he does a little recon. He wants to work for this company, Merrill Lynch. Anyone ever hear that? One of the largest financial institutions in the world at the time. Very prestigious. This is 20 years ago. He wants to work there. So he finds the manager of this Merrill Lynch office, and he finds out the guy gets there at 7 in the morning. And he shows up with 2 cups of coffee and his resume. And he waits there, and the guy shows up, and he says, are you the manager? And the guy's like, yeah. He says, my name's Todd. And he says, I want to work for Merrill Lynch, and I'd like 15 minutes of your time. Manager says, you got 15 minutes right now. And he brings him up to his office. They drink coffee for an hour. He never looked at his resume, and he hired him on the spot. 20 years later, he's a vice president, one of the largest insurance companies in the world at 41 years old. People are going to tell you, go do your resume. How many people are working on a resume or think about it? To utilize my skills to the best of my ability. That line, right? Think outside the box. Don't do what everyone else does. Most people get mediocrity. I'm going to rephrase that. Most people get mediocrity. Nobody chooses it. Go do something great. Got to think outside the box, right? Huh? Okay, he's getting it. Things are getting worse for this guy. He's basically run out of money, and he does the dumbest thing a man can do. Now, I know most of you aren't married here, but I'll give you a little bit of marital advice for being married for 12 years. He sells his wife's jewelry. Don't do that. That is a very, very big mistake. Do not, I don't care how bad it gets, don't do that. So needless to say, she is not real happy. Things are not good at home. He sells his wife's jewelry, and you can't see this, but that's him and that's his dog, his best friend in the world. Loves his dog. Things got so bad for him, right? His wife, that's done. No heat. Things got so bad, he couldn't afford to feed his dog. And he goes down to the liquor store and sells his dog. Gets $25. Any dog lovers in here? My wife hears me do this presentation. She bursts into tears. She loves dogs. Sells his dog. That's pretty bad, right? So he's a pretty miserable guy. He's got nothing. You can't see this, unfortunately. I'm sorry, this doesn't look better. That's Muhammad Ali. Everyone knows who he is, right? Champ of the world, best boxer of our time. The guy over on the right, anyone know who that is? It's a no-name guy by the name of Chuck Wepner. No one ever heard of the guy. And Stallone is watching this fight, and Wepner is getting mauled. He's hammering Wepner. Well, Wepner keeps getting back up. And he keeps getting back up, and he keeps fighting, and he keeps going. And the crowd is getting behind Wepner. That never happened before, right? Everyone's motivated by Wepner. So he gets an idea, and he's like, I'm getting jazzed by this, and he comes up with the idea that he's going to write a movie about that. 3 days straight, he writes. He doesn't leave his house. 3 days straight, he starts writing. He comes up with a script. He calls it Rocky. He goes to all these talent agencies. The first one, they tell him it's not any good. The second one, this thing is not good. 5th one, no good. 10th, no good. 15th, they throw him out. 20th one, it's predictable. It's sappy. It's not well written. Never worked. Goes to the 20th one, same thing. 25th one, same thing. 30th one, same thing. Finally comes to 2 guys. He shows them the script. They love it. They go, this is the best thing ever. This thing's going to be huge. We're going to give you $100,000 for this script. This guy just sold his dog. He's going to get $100,000 for this script. He goes bananas, right? He's made. And what does he say? He says, you guys got a deal, but I got to be in the movie. And they say, that's not part of it. We need a big name in this. He goes, that's me. I know who I am. That's me. That's my story. I got to be in the movie. And they said no. And he turned it down. $100,000 and he turns it down. They call him up a week later. They say, this thing's going to be huge. We got to have this movie. He says, I got to be in it. They said, no, we got Ryan O'Neal. He's a big name actor. He says, that's me. That's my story. I come with it. He says, no deal. He turns down $250,000. He just sold his dog, $250,000. He says no. They call him back one last time. They said $330,000. He goes, I got to be in that movie. They said nope. And he says, then no deal. And he slams the phone down. Week later, they call him back up. They say, all right, we're going to give you $35,000 because we don't think this is going to work. But this way, you'll share some of the risk too. $35,000 and you can be in the movie. He goes, I'll take it. Turns down $330,000. He says, I'm going to take $35,000 to be in the movie. That year, Rocky goes on, and part of the profits. That year, Rocky goes on to gross $200 million, is the greatest movie of the year, wins all kinds of awards because he took that risk. Guy had nothing. He's offered all these things. He turns all of it down. He knows who he is. There he is up there standing there on the night of the awards. Those are the 2 guys who bought the script. And he stands up there. He thanks everyone. And then, and I love this, he rattles off all the things that people said to him of why he wasn't going to be successful. And he said all the things that the people at the agencies told him why he wasn't going to be successful. And then he grabbed the award and he walked off the stage. You guys have been great. Go do great things, all right? Thank you for your time.